What's up, y'all? Hope you guys are doing well this week. Happy Wednesday. Yet again, we are one more week closer to St. Pete at the end of February. And I know Chuck and myself are incredibly excited for this season to get started. But first, we are going to continue our journey through the book of Luke. And we find ourselves in Luke 3 and right in the middle of a prophecy from Isaiah. Now, prophecies are powerful, right? Because they point to Jesus. There's over 300 plus prophecies. If I remember right, I could be off, but I think it was around 300 that point to Jesus from the Old Testament, like this. Isaiah wrote these words 700 years ago, and here we see them being fulfilled in the life of Jesus. And, you know, Chuck brought up a new guy on the scene, John the Baptist. You know, John the Baptist was, again, another prophecy from the book of Malachi, who prophesied that Elijah would come and be the forerunner for the Messiah. And that's John the Baptist's role. And Chuck just hit the nail on the head last week. If you didn't see it, go back and look at it. He does kind of look Australian, but I loved it. It was awesome. It was powerful of being a voice of crying out in the wilderness. But we're going to move on here in verse 5 and 6, where, okay, again, as it was written in the book of the words of Isaiah the prophet, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, make his paths straight. Every valley shall be filled, and every mountain and hill shall be made low, and the crooked shall become straight, and the rough places shall become level ways. Now, at face value, you can read that and be like, okay, and just keep on trucking, right? Like that's something that you can just pass right over. But again, I love how we're studying the book of Luke and just going slow, taking our time, because there's three things that God really highlighted for me. The first is every valley shall be filled, every mountain and hill shall be made low. And really one way to look at that is level, right? Level. So you know, if we're a little big for our britches, as we all get, I know I get big for my britches, we get a little arrogant sometimes. So at the end of the day, you know, God's got to humble us. We got to eat a little bit of humble pie. We got to be brought low. And then there's days where I'm just defeated. I'm rejected. I'm dejected. I need encouragement. I'm struggling with who I see in the mirror. And there's Jesus to lift us up, to fill those valleys in. You know, the other way is that crooked path becomes straight. The crooked path becomes straight. You know, I'll just be honest. My life pre-Jesus was an absolute train wreck. I made a lot of stupid decisions. I did a lot of dumb things. And my path was as crooked as a question mark. It was bad. Now, I'm not going to lie. Meeting Jesus has certainly straightened out my path. Now, is it like a drag strip? Not at all. I still veer left and right, but God keeps me on this path and makes straight my path. And then lastly, the other area is rough places, right? Rough places shall become level ways. You know, growing up in racing, those of you that are involved in the sport, you know, crew guys, drivers, and car owners, it's rough. It's a rough environment. It's rough on language, rough in attitude, rough in action. It is rough. And those that are raised in it, that have lived it, understand just how rough it really is. You got to have thick skin in racing. It's really hard. And so needless to say, leaving racing, going to work in a church, becoming a pastor, God has really sanded down the rough edges. And trust me, he still has a lot of work to do. But again, these are three ways that the forerunner, that Jesus is coming. Jesus is going to impact lives by humbling us, by keeping us level, straightening out our paths, and smoothing out the rough surfaces. Because it's not just for you. It's not about you. It's about Jesus. Because where he goes in verse 6, he says, and all flesh shall see the salvation of God. You know, when others around you see the work God's doing in your life, they see salvation, right? Like that's why it's important. When you meet Jesus, you can't stay the same. You don't stay the same. Meeting Jesus isn't about saying a prayer and getting a fire insurance policy that you go to heaven forever. It's more than that. God is sanctifying us, making us holy each and every day. He's continuing to shift us, mold us, change us, not for our sake, for his. Because as he does that, and as we grow in him, we impact and influence those around us to see the salvation of God. You know, at the end of the day, everybody's going to see Jesus. Everybody. We're clear on that in Revelation. The difference is not everybody's going to be real happy and excited to see Jesus. And so while the day is young, let's do that. Continue to lean into those three areas. Where is God humbling you? Where is he straightening your path? Where is he smoothing out some rough edges? But invite others into that process, because in that process, they see God. They see salvation. Look, I'm not where I'm supposed to be yet. God's still doing work, but God's doing work in my life, and here's where he's doing work in my life. You know, I know there's been plenty of people in my life that, you know, it's not because I'm a pastor, it's because I'm a different person. And God's continuing to mold me. And look, he's still got a lot of work to do in my life, but praise God, he's doing work. So anyway, hope it blesses y'all. Have a great week. And hey, please join us in prayer. Be praying for this season. It's coming fast. It's going to be here in 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks. And we need that prayer support. We trust that 2022 is going to be monumental for the life of those in IndyCar. And we are excited, Chuck and I, for what God has in store. Have a great day.